G'day folks, this is Dragon. Just smoothing off some glass I cut with a bottle cutter. It's part of a project to make an indoor-outdoor candle lantern. Now, when using a glass cutter, you're always going to finish up most of the time anyway, depending on the glass quality and your skills, with sharp edges and lumps and bumps along the cut line here. So I've had to improvise because I really don't have the proper smoothing materials and polishing materials for glass. So what I've done is used a very fine grit sand belt on a belt sander, and just very gently touch it like this, and just work your way around it to take the sharp edges and lumps and bumps off the cut line. And it's working quite well. What I'm doing at the moment is doing it at only a few seconds at a time, because this glass does heat up, and the last thing you want is to heat to a point where it's going to crack. Of note, this particular bottle I'm using, in the manufacturing process, there's a seam there and also a seam on the other side. And when I use the glass cutter on these, that seam is not smooth, and that protruding seam caused a few problems. In fact, it caused a few failures. So a bit of experience there. I had to actually score it a bit deeper and try to go the same scoring point twice, so that it separate cleanly along those seams. So I've just started on this one. This is one I've just about completed. If you look at the previous pics I posted on the Try Homesteading forum, this was pretty rough around here along the separation line. So what I've done is, as a prelude to this video, is that I've buffed it up, polished it as much as I can to take the sharp edges off, and some of these cut lines, you get that lumpy bits on there too. That's come up quite well. It's taken all the sharp edges off. I also did, bear with me, I'm working one-handed here, with the belt grinder going, just very lightly touch around the outside edges of the cut to take any sharp splinters or edges off, to prevent any injury to people when you use these. The inside is a bit of a different story. So what I did was, where's it gone? Bit of fine grit sandpaper. I thought I had some wet and dry emery paper here, but I obviously haven't. And just ran it very gently around the inside of the jar to take the edge off the cut. That's turned out quite well. So that's come out quite well. You may notice there's a few places there where the sander hasn't smoothed it off along the cut line, and you may also know with this particular jar, if you have a closer look at it, the glass thickness around here is not consistent. So that causes another problem with glass cutting. It's not consistent, and quite often you won't know this until it happens and it breaks, and then you see what the problem is. Then you're scoring in the hot and cold water method I use for separation. The glass heats up different temperatures or cools down at different temperatures, not really very consistent, and it shatters. So that's something you have to be aware of too, is glass quality, and certainly things like seams. That glass bottom there is actually the piece I cut off here. Have a close look, I don't know if you can see it in the camera there, where my thumb is anyway. There's a seam running right up the side of the bottle into where a cap screws on. So anyway, I'll persevere with that. It's going well so far. The one thing I've learnt with this is that if you're using electrical belt grinder, sander, that's all I'm using at the moment, that's all I've got. A bit of improvisation, I guess you call it. Do it very gently, don't put too much pressure on it, because one, it won't sand it off evenly, and two, it produces more heat on the glass, which will eventually, on some types of glass, will crack. And I really don't want to have to go through the drama of cutting another one of these bottles again if it cracks. So if you have a close look at that compared to the still pics I posted on Try Homesteading, this is coming up quite well. Probably do a little bit more on it, just to take out things like this. I'll show you where my finger is there. I don't know if you can see it in the video, in the camera. There's still a dimple there along the cut line. That's the way the glass separated. So I'll try and get it down a bit more, keep the circumference of this relatively level. And you can see there's other ones there too. That's just the way the glass broke. So anyway, I'll persevere with it, see what happens. Fingers crossed it won't crack. Alright, see you later. Okay folks, bit more work with the belt sander and the sandpaper I was using before, and I don't know if you can see it in here. It's raining outside, that's why I haven't been able to do this outside. The edges look much cleaner. Did a little bit more work on it with the belt sander and the sheet of paper I had, and as you can see, the dimples that were in the earlier part of this video along the cut line around here are gone. What I also did too was by manipulating the glass jar on the belt sander, was to actually bevel the outside and inside edges of the cut line to remove any sharp pieces of glass and that sort of thing. So that's the bottom of it. I did a bit more work on that. It's not coming up too bad actually. It's not perfect by any means. As I said, I'm just improvising, but certainly for what I want to use it for, it'll do just fine. Of note too, I don't know if you can see it in there. Let's see, a bit of contrast or something. Dust. Now a lot of that dust will come off the belt, but a lot of it is glass dust. So safety precautions, hand protection, eye protection, and some sort of mask so that you're not sucking in this very fine glass dust into your lungs, and you're not getting it in your eyes. And of course the gloves are to protect you in case the glass cracks or breaks, or some types of glass or even shatter. This will give you some sort of protection. But anyway, that's come up quite well. As I said, it's not perfect, I'm just improvising, but it'll certainly do the job for what I need it for. Alright, thanks folks. Okay, just run my fingers, and I've done a pre-test on this, so don't worry about if there's any blood and guts. Just run my fingers around the cut line, inside and out, very smooth, and there's no real risk there of cutting yourself with your fingers or your hand. That's come up quite well actually.